Alright, so I've been doing this series of videos to take you through the journey of me teaching myself how to do pie cut exhausts. The purpose of these videos is not to teach you how to do a pie cut exhaust, but to kind of show you exactly what you can encounter when you're teaching yourself a new skill, not specifically an exhaust. What I tried to do is to help you get over that initial kind of fear to start something new and to teach yourself something new, because the end result seems so daunting at first. So you can kind of say that this is for inspiration, but it definitely is not a teaching exercise. So today I feel that it's a good endpoint for this series of videos, and I will show you what I've been doing in the last couple of weekends. So to recap, I started off with a very simple design where I just wanted to get a feel of how I need to cut and position my pie cuts and to really get into welding these thin materials. So I took the experience that I gained from this specific exhaust and I went to different forums, both local and foreign, and kind of got feedback from people who are doing similar things and had more experience than me. So with those inputs, I could really correct certain things that I was doing wrong in my previous and first attempt. So for the next attempt, I decided to give myself a bigger challenge. This is not because I was overconfident about my skills, but I did it for two specific reasons. The first one was I wanted to understand the full scope of problems and challenges that can come in a very complex exhaust system. The second reason was that I wanted to give myself enough room to practice my welding. So by designing a somewhat overcomplicated exhaust design, I gave myself about 50-60 pie cuts that I can weld over. So with this system, I had to actually be a little bit more innovative to avoid hitting the cooling fins, the chassis and the rectifier, and it was all in very close proximity. So to overcome these challenges, I had to be a little bit more innovative about my cut angles, how I position my pie cuts, and how to incorporate a split system using exhaust springs to hold it together. So coming up with these solutions, I actually learned that I needed to look at three main factors. So the first one was understanding some basic geometry. So I had to understand the length and the cut angles of each piece and the tolerances of each element, how it affected the flow of the exhaust. So I had to kind of play with these tolerances and the cut angles and the length of each piece to make sure that I tighten up or loosen each bend so that I could really maneuver away from certain clearance issues that I had to find solutions for. So the second one is some aesthetic awareness. But this is a really subjective area because what looks good to me might not look good to you. So this you will have to kind of be happy with what you are doing and it should look right to your eye. So this is an awareness that you kind of have to build by looking at references and kind of building up some sense of what looks good on what type of bike. So you can get some opinions from other people to make sure that you're not heading into some catastrophically ugly design. But end of the day, it should look good to you. The third element is the weld quality. So this means having proper penetration so that your welds are solid and structural to a certain degree. And the finishing is good, the discoloration is good, and it's not damaging the aesthetic or the structural element of your exhaust system. So for the amateur bike builder, you should be able to execute all three elements to a reasonable degree so that you come up with a good output. So when you start off, you don't have to perfect all three elements at once. All of these three elements that I spoke about earlier can be improved over time and over practice. So don't get disheartened if the first attempt that you did is not really looking good, not really functioning the way you expected. But the key is to keep trying. So based on the experience that I have been sharing with you and I have been doing in the background, is that the best thing you can do is to actually start off and do it. So I've been playing with this idea for a long time. So I've been studying the material and I've been studying the mathematic theory around how you can position and how you can calculate your pie cuts, the length of pieces and all of that, the mathematical and theoretical elements. But no matter how much you do it in your head, it actually doesn't even come close to the experience that you can get by actually getting your hands on these pieces and seeing how it works in real life. So by actually holding these pieces and seeing how they move in a 3D space gave me a lot of intuitive knowledge that I couldn't really gather by studying the material beforehand. And it really accelerated my learning process and how I can figure out how to come up with new solutions. So obviously, the quality of my welds can go a long way to be considered even half good. But my first welds, which look like this, only several weekends ago, I was able to improve to a state that is like this today. So this is a good example that you can really build a skill to a high degree if you really focus on improving that skill. So at this moment, I don't feel that I have perfected it by a long shot. But I am confident that I can practice and make it better along the way. Right now, I think the biggest space of improvement for me is the improvement of my consistency. By improving the starts and stops and the coloration profile, if I can match it with the next one, which I wasn't really focusing on in the second attempt, is something that I can now focus on for the next attempt. So when it comes to building exhausts, what I will do now is to continue practicing on my other bikes to make sure that I can really perfect this skill to a high standard. So I don't want to say that this has been a very easy experience, but I definitely can vouch that it's not impossible to master. So my hope was to inspire you to go out and try something new and learn something and teach yourself something that you can incorporate into your build. So it doesn't have to be specifically an exhaust, but it can be something completely different. Maybe it's fiberglass work, maybe it's metalworking. So it can be something really complicated, but if you start today, a couple of months down the line, you will have another skill in your repertoire that you can actually apply to your project motorcycle. I hope you found this series helpful. I hope you found this series a little inspiring, and I will see you with a similar video next time.